Today is July 4th, 2011, not 1776. When the civilization gets old, it returns to its ancestors. We are in the 4th month of an undeclared war where we took an inch from the United Nations. We took a mile from the given inch. We are in 3 countries operating robots that can assassinate people without trial, that are not in enemy militaries, that are assumed to be criminals, and it is not considered warfare, even though buildings are destroyed by missiles. Acts of war. By any declaration, if somebody fires a cannon into your country, that's a traditional way of starting a war. Now maybe we're in a new time and the old morality doesn't apply, but then there should be a new morality, not simply an absence of morality. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form, as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly all experience hath shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present power structure in Washington is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states and others. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. We hold these truths to be right. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation until his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation of the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. In this present day, there are 20 million Americans without rights, 20 million people who live in this country, undocumented people. There are 10 million people who have lost their rights in a form of criminal justice that would have been unthinkable to the founders, one would think, to disenfranchise 3 in every 100 men. Of course, the founders viewed freedom through a different lens. But how, when we have created the perfect security state, could we ever write such a document? How can we accept a government that has destroyed our public finances? We now pay as much interest on our national debt as the entire public sector expends on education a year. We've dropped to 27th out of 30 in scores in education through the gradual ossification, that is, becoming like bone, becoming inflexible, petrification, as in my experience with our school system, where it seems like we're lucky to get something from them, and they tell my children which classes they should take or not take based on their own personal prejudice about the child's suitability, in case of it, AP classes or non-AP classes, in the case of choice of school, allowing the system to founder and still maintain arrogance. To have engaged in wars of imperialism far beyond any conception of liberty since the end of World War II, and to have sold off our rights, and to have created a massive security state from which we can never unyoke ourselves in any traditional storybook fashion. It will be a much greater struggle. Happy 4th of July. The Yankee spirit will reemerge.